I remember I was at this event like 2 months ago, and I was sitting at this table with couples, and I was talking to a guy. The guys talk, and I was talking to a gentleman. Of course, they want to talk about sports and whatnot. And I remember saying like, yeah, the only sport I really watch is the UFC. And I was like, actually, I love the UFC. I love it a lot. And I remember one of the guys was just like, why? And this is a guy who like watches sport. He watches basketball or something. And the way that he acts why, it has such massive implications. I could just hear the judgment in his voice, like, because I could tell just merely in his tone, the mere. But we didn't have time to get like really into the depths of this, but just purely in his tone, it's clearly he just thinks it's something that's just like senseless barbarism. And I remember when years ago I used to think that way too. I used to think the UFC, just about, I don't see a bunch of guys and gals just getting together and just wailing on each other. But I couldn't have been more wrong at the time. What the thing that first pulled me into the UFC wasn't even a fight. It was the lead up to a fight. And this is why I love the UFC. It's one of the many reasons. It was with this fighter named Jorge Masvidal, who's about to fight this guy named Darren Till. And they were in London. And for some reason on my YouTube, it popped up where these gentlemen had an interview with each other. And it was a welterweight fight, 170 pounds, and they had them face to face. It was Darren Till is this British guy, and he was sitting across Jorge Masvidal, this American dude, and they were just talking about how they were about to engage in violence. They were having an intellectual discussion, you could say. It's fair to say they were having an intellectual discussion about the violence that was about to take place. I mean, as intellectual as it possibly could be. These two dudes who were about to fight in a few days. And I remember Jorge Masvidal at the time, I just was so impressed with his mentality. This is me not knowing anything about anybody. And I just loved how authentic they both were in talking about how they're going to beat the shit out of each other. And it wasn't emotional. It was civil. It was civilized violence. Now, so why is that so entertaining? And they both have such unique personalities. Every single top fighter in the UFC, like top 10 fighter, they all have such unique personalities. Why is that so interesting? Well, it's because first of all, story grabs us all. Jorge Masvidal's story, where he came from, because he has Cuban ancestry. Darren Till, where he came from, what his deal is. He's a Liverpudlian, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a Scouser, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm getting all that right. And they're characters, and I don't mean characters in the sense that I don't recognize them as real, but they're characters in that they're charming, they're intelligent, but they can also fight. But the fighting is not. When I look at a random video, or the times when a random video has popped up where it's two people about to fight, this word has been overused, but I cringe at that shit. I don't want to see two strangers fighting because it's just pure emotional childishness. It's because they don't know how to express themselves, because they can't handle tense situations in like, because they now it's like I have to just resort to hitting I have to resort to hitting you because I'm just so emotional. I have no interest in seeing that shit. Because for every dude that thinks they're so hard and so powerful, and every woman that thinks they're so hard and so powerful, like I'm like, this is such a joke. Go to the UFC then. You could be a millionaire if you're that hard, if you're that tough, if you're that badass. I guess what it is I love seeing the real badasses. I love seeing any man or woman who trains to fight, to get inside of an octagon in a cage and engage in combat with the other. You have my respect. I don't care if your record is 0-3. There was a moment in a UFC fight some time ago where a guy making his debut, he just straight up quit. I don't remember if it was his debut or his like second or third fight, but he quit. And I've never seen that ever in recent years. Somebody just say I quit, like I can't go on. Not I quit and the fight's over, and now I'll fight another fight. This dude quit like fighting right then and there. I think it was like during when COVID first hit. It was some gentleman, but I even respect him. I don't care. I don't care that you quit, man. Hey, good effort, sir. Good effort. I appreciate the discipline that is involved in the other factor here is not just the discipline and not just them being characters who are smart and entertaining and even charming. And they all have such unique backgrounds and they all have such unique personalities. Also, the reason why I love it so much is because other than sex, there's not much that speaks to me at that primitive level. Like, like my point is, whatever you want to, why, like whether it's pornography or engaging in the sexual act themselves, nothing quite scratches that itch. I'm sorry, that's not bad. It's a bad, it's a bad metaphor to use in this instance. Nothing quite speaks to that part of you other than like sex itself. Like there's nothing that can replace sex except for sex. And there's nothing that quite speaks to you like fighting. There's something clearly in us that is receptive to it. My senses, something deep within me where it speaks to me. It speaks to something beyond the intellectual, beyond my it's just it's such a primal force and it has such a primal stimulation. That's what it is. That's what it is. It causes such a primal stimulation. And it's a primal stimulation again. I'm not interested in seeing just random people get into fights on the street. It's a primal stimulation. Also, the reason why it's guilt free is because it's consensual. It's because it's consensual, and it's because also you got the vast majority of the time you have person A saying, I think I'm the best, and person B saying, I think I'm the best. And then so now we get to see who is the best. And so that's what's cool. That's what's dope about it, in each respective weight class. And so it's something that's super respectable. And I guess, because in this age we live in, man, and that we've always lived in, where I remember when I was young, just the facade of strength was enough to have you sort of respect strength. I remember just like somebody just acting hard or tough was enough. What I love about UFC is that you could be they got dudes who fight that are the most sweetest, gentlemanliest, quote unquote, soft dudes in the eyes of like the normal world, but they will whoop your ass and they'll beat somebody else's ass. And I just love how it shows you where strength actually comes from. It can come from you can be some kind of like tough guy. There's a lot of quote unquote tough guy, but toughness reveals itself in a variety of ways. I mean, even the women, just with UFC 300 recently, we had this fight between these two Chinese females. It was an amazing fight. Amazing fight. And because like I'm gonna be real when it comes to sports. Yeah, first of all, again, I'm not interested in watching sports. I don't watch sports. But no, and if I did, I don't tend to be interested in watching the female genre. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's just, again, it doesn't speak to me in a primal way. But I am interested in seeing two women. Now, I don't even want to see again, I don't want to see two women, random women fight. I do like seeing two professionals fight, two professionals that are highly skilled. It's because there's a shit ton of skill involved. And it's just good stuff, man. It's inspiring because they work so hard. They work so hard. They're putting themselves just in millions of people are watching you, and the stakes are so high. And they perform, man, and they engage in combat skillfully, energetically, enthusiastically, willfully. It's an amazing sport for sure. It's an amazing sport, and the fighters are amazing. They're amazing human beings, man. They really are. They really, really are. There's so many people that get respect that do not fucking deserve it, but the UFC fighters, by and large, they do.